Ron Luce has reached millions of teenagers with the message of Christ, but that's getting harder to do with the decline of biblical values in our culture. In order to combat this problem, Ron is bringing together youth leaders from across the world for Jesus Global Youth Day in Manila, Philippines. It will be the world's largest global summit with youth leaders coming together to share what's working in reaching young people and how they can pass those strategies down to the next generation.
Well, Ron is here, and let's talk about your next big project where you're having a global day.
Jesus Global Youth Day. You know, the Catholics actually been doing this for 3 decades.
Oh, really?
John Paul started it, and I talked to several, the guys that were right, his left and right when he started, and they said nobody in the Catholic Church wanted to do it. You know, the cardinals, nobody wanted to do it, but he said, we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And the youth came, and now, 30 years later, all the cardinals love it. The archbishops come. Like, oh, we get just as much encouragement as the young people do, seeing them come together. They just had one in Panama. So Bishop F. Tendero, who you know, who's from the Philippines, who's the leader now of the World Evangelical Alliance, probably 5 or 7 years ago, we were talking about young people of the world. He goes, well, the Catholics have been doing this. Why don't the Protestants do an event like this? Ron, we need to do it, and you need to lead this. And I'm thinking, well, I'm busy. I got events
your
every
assignment.
Well, yeah, and so, but the seed that kind of continued to build and begin to build relationships all around the world, and so it's the coming together of church leaders to focus on the next generation. Of course, we're inviting them to come with their youth groups, and I think the thing that's what we're trying to do that's really different. Leaders are frustrated all around the world. Almost every place you go, Christianity is shrinking. There's we call the grain of the church. You know, there's a lot of old people, very few young people, both in America and around the world.
How about in the Philippines? In
the Philippines, there are some movements of young disciples, which are great, but the whole evangelical church isn't full of young. But it's a young nation, though.
Yeah.
And so
South Korea is the poster child for this. They lost a generation.
With 33% down to 1.7% now for the young generation. In one generation, they lost.
And here was a nation dedicated, a church dedicated to prayer,
right? Dedicated
to seeking God, right. Dedicated to missions, and they lost their youth.
So, as I've traveled and met with leaders from like 100 different nations, there's this overall sort of like, what do we do? You know, they know that they're all on their phones. They get the culture from the West and all of that. What do we do? And as we talk about the vision for Jesus Global Youth Day, and that it's not just us coming together, that would be great if that was all it was, but we're also bringing together about a dozen different best practices, churches and leaders of the pastors that are reaching and discipling in like exponential levels. Like they're, for example, a church of 40,000 where 60% are under 25, things like that. They're reaching and discipling and to share their best practices with leaders all around the world. And so it's not like we have to reinvent the wheel or, you know, like split the atom. Has it ever been done? You know, no, people know how to do this in not just having a big hype event, but having tools to reach and disciple that you can take back to your own culture, what applies, how do you adapt it to your culture, to your DNA of your ministry, and that kind of thing. So people can either come in person with their group, or they can host a watch party in their church. We've got about 83,000 churches signed up to do that now, where on the final day, they can fill their church with youth and be a part, kind of a global connecting for the very first time and see a bunch of people come to Christ right there in their own city or their village.
How are you solving the time difference?
Well, it won't be live on that. It'll be 7 o'clock, your local time zone in your part of the world. And so it'll be translated many different languages around the world. And some places it'll be online, sometimes it'll be broadcast. So there'll be lots of different ways to get it depending on where you live.
Okay. How do people get involved? They heard you, they said, okay, can I go? Can I set up my own watch party? How do you
JesusGlobalYouthDay.com, simple as that, and you can click, you want to go or you want to watch, and we'll give you all the information about how you promote it in your local community, how do you bring a group if you want to bring a group, and how you can get involved in this first ever 10,000 voice virtual youth choir. We've got a theme song we're just rolling out a video for, and you can submit a video of your youth group singing the song. We're going to aggregate all those voices, and so we'd love to have you be a part of, let's come together as the global body of Christ to focus on getting the baton of the gospel in the next generation's hands.
After the conference, what are you going to do to get the strategy out? Because I think that's the key piece going forward.
It is. Well, I have a book coming out that'll have a lot of the strategies, but probably more importantly than that is we're inviting the pastors that both come or that host a watch party in their country to join a global coalition of pastors who are serious about reaching and discipling. So it becomes an ongoing learning community. Hey, I tried this. There's a blog about this, a video about this. And so we're not going to get it all in one meeting, but we can start dipping our toe in the water and let's learn together. So we're really looking at the next decade, 2020 to 2030. Could we get 100,000, 500,000? Could we get 1 million churches that are aggressively going after the younger generation out of hope that we can do this, we can learn from each other and reaching and discipling the 13 and 14-year-olds that are the most likely to receive Christ anyways?
Most people don't know that. They don't know the concept of, it's called the 4-14 window.
Right.
That by the age of 14, if you haven't made a decision for Christ, it's going to get harder and harder every decade following that.
And one of the things that you also hear is, but there's no money in that. They can't tithe or give offerings. But we found just the opposite of that, where some of these best practices, where these churches are really focused on reaching the younger generation. They teach them to give and to tithe, and they actually get so blessed financially, it's like defies logic. And I could tell you the stories, but it's really amazing. So the common sort of logic, well, that doesn't pay for itself. Well, it does in God's economy.
Okay.
It does. It does. And it also brings life to your church, and hope. I think, and I'll tell you, one.
Are you serious? You really hear objections about reaching youth based on finances?
Oh yeah, because they don't tithe. Well, they don't have any money. They don't have jobs and all that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but
Wow.
it's God's economy, and He wants to reach the next generation. I think.
Yeah, God's economy is all about how many people go to heaven.
Right.
You take care of that, God's going to take care of you.
Exactly.
And that's, wow.
So it's a big leap. It's a paradigm shift, really, for adults, pastors to start focusing on the next generation, because they think, I'm not young, I'm not cool. But the guy who runs MTV is not young and cool, but he's strategic, and so must we be.
Yeah, all you have to do is think about it. Jesus Global Youth Day will take place in Manila, August 8th through the 10th. And for more information how you can take part or how you can submit a music video of your youth group, all you have to do is go to cbn.com, and you can hear more from Ron on our Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com/700 Club Interactive.